Hey guys, Dr. Nathan Thompson here with Exemplify Health Center, a Wellness Way affiliate. Today I want to talk to you about your immune system. And so if you have any issues with low immunity, getting chronic infections, autoimmunity, including Hashimoto's thyroiditis, or if you're just worried about getting the flu in general, I want you to pay attention to how we view the immune system and what you can do in order to get your defenses up. A lot of times people talk about during this time of year the flu season and how the flu season gets stronger during the winter months, but in reality there is no time of year for the flu. In fact, what happens during this time of year is that we let our defenses down. And so I'm going to show you, looking at every single component of the immune system, what you can do that's within your power to actually improve and increase your immune system. Now here's the thing with your immune system. You can only get it back up to 100%. So you can't improve it past 100%. A lot of people are walking around with an immune system that isn't working the way that it's supposed to. So I'm going to show you what you can do in order to improve your immune system. So when you look at the immune system, the reason why we have an immune system is, number one, is we're going to have things that are going to come from the outside in, foreign invaders. They're going to come, and the immune system is designed to actually neutralize those threats as quickly as possible. And the other thing the immune system does that a lot of people don't realize is that the immune system is also keeping your microbiome, or all of those normal bacteria that are living within your gastrointestinal system, and it's always keeping those in check, making sure that that normal bacteria is benefiting you. But sometimes when the immune system gets weak, even that normal bacteria can start to overgrow and then cause sickness and illness. So let's talk about the immune system and what you can do in order to improve it. So number one of the biggest things of why your immune system would get low would be mainly due to two reasons. Number one is going to be due to stress. And number two is you are missing nutritional constituents that help to build the immune system. So one of the things that you can do right away with improving the immune system is lowering the stress response. So the stress response is fight or flight. When you are in constant stress, a constant fight or flight response, then what happens is that the immune system gets suppressed. One of the greatest things that you can do in order to balance out that fight or flight response versus the rest and digest in which the immune system gets built is actually chiropractic adjustments. And this is what's so incredible is when people are getting adjusted, one of the first things that they notice is they say, you know what, I just haven't been getting sick as often. And that's because chiropractic influences the sympathetic nerve system. And in fact, the sympathetic nerve system actually innervates the immune system by way of your bone marrow. And in fact, when you have chronic stress, that sympathetic nerve system can inhibit stem cell formation within the actual bone marrow. The other one, though, that you have to address is you have to address nutrition. So when you look at nutrition, all nutrition is doing is that it's giving the right materials and the building blocks for the immune system to get what it needs in order to build a healthy, strong immune system. And in fact, when you talk about your first defense with your immune system is actually to know that you're making healthy stem cells. And stem cells are actually immature cells that are made within your bone marrow. And the two biggest things that you can do to influence your stem cell production to turn into immune system cells is number one, chiropractic, and number two, the herb astragalus. Now, astragalus gives the body nutritional constituents that influence the immune system and stem cell formation actually within the bone marrow. So those are two things that you can do to increase stem cell production to then increase the immune system within the actual bone marrow. Now, when you start branching off the immune system, you have two different types of immune systems. First one that you have is called your innate immune system. The second one is called your adaptive. Let's talk about your innate immune system. By innate, it means that you're actually born with this. So when you look at your innate immune system, that's actually things that you're born with from birth. And the whole goal of the innate immune system is really to help you against foreign invaders that are coming from the outside. Again, something that you're actually born with. And there's different divisions of your innate immune system that help the body to fight infection. Now, one of the greatest things that you can do to influence your innate immune system is the medicinal mushroom known as reishi. And then also, if you've ever heard of echinacea. So both of these have the capacity to improve your innate immune system. Now, when you look at the innate immune system, you have different types of your innate immune system that help you fight off different types of infections. Probably the most important thing that people don't realize when it comes to your innate immune system is actually the whole idea of barriers. So your body has different barriers that's designed to allow certain things to go in, but also not allow other things like pathogens to be able to enter in. So some barriers that you can think of would be, for example, your skin. This would be your mucosa from your mouth, your esophagus, your stomach, your small intestine, and your large intestine. Also, your digestive system contains a mucosa. And then also another barrier would be your stomach pH. And in fact, your stomach pH is actually supposed to be extremely acidic, mainly for the fact that you can sterilize your food. So I want you to think about it. Some people who eat the same type of food, they get terrible food poisoning, yet other people who eat the same food don't get any kind of food poisoning, and the difference is their stomach pH. So you should have an extremely acidic stomach pH, first and foremost, to help sterilize your food, and number two, to help break down your proteins. And then also your other barrier is going to be your microbiome, or those 100 trillion cells that are living within the small and large intestine that are providing a barrier against any kind of foreign invader. So your barriers are extremely important in order to keep them healthy. So what can you do in order to improve the barriers? And think of this, the barriers are almost like the bouncer that are keeping the foreign invaders out of the nightclub. So number one, how to improve your stomach acidity would be things like hydrochloric acid. Just be careful taking this if you have any kind of active ulcer, as that hydrochloric acid can really make it burn. So before you start to quote-unquote acidify the stomach, you need to do some things in order to help that the ulcer actually heal. Number two is chamomile. Now a lot of times people say, well, chamomile, I drink that as a tea, and it's very calming and relaxing. Actually, chamomile is very stimulatory to your digestive system, and what it stimulates is that it stimulates goblet cell secretions in order to increase that mucus within your small and large intestine so that it increases the actual barrier. Now, a lot of times people will say, well, I take probiotics to help with my immune system, but many times probiotics don't help people if you don't have a nice mucus layer. So think of this, is that probiotics need the right environment for them to be able to grow. So if you're taking probiotics and they're not helping you, you have to think that your barriers haven't been established yet, particularly a mucosal layer within your digestive system where that microbiome can actually grow, and also the small intestine probably hasn't been acidified yet. So this is, once these two have been established, then probiotics can actually help you, but they need a mucosal layer within the small intestine for them to be able to grow. And then those probiotics will also then, with their metabolism, help you do some things in order to increase the immune system as well. So number one, you have to have your barriers to be healthy. Number two, you also have something in your innate immune system. It's called your complement system. Your complement system is a series of proteins primarily made in the liver that actually will help to accentuate and cause chemical attraction to foreign invaders from certain white blood cells. So the complement system actually helps to intensify an inflammatory response and actually helps to attract some of these white blood cells to the area. It's kind of like the bell that says, hey, here's where we need to go in order to start destroying some of those foreign invaders. But this is why these are primarily made in the liver, why having a healthy liver is actually so important. Then you also have all of your white blood cells. You have different types: neutrophils, your macrophages, your mast cells, natural killer cells, and eosinophils, and each one of them perform a function based on the type of reaction that needs to take place, or based on the type of infection. Eosinophils are primarily responsible when there's some kind of parasitic infection. So all of these different things have a different response based on the type of infection. Now, when we talk about food allergies and things like that, is that many times the food allergies will actually stimulate these cells that then create a type of inflammatory reaction. This is why things like Albizia or nettle can actually help to calm down these types of reactions, especially when you know your food allergies and you accidentally eat them. They can actually cause a decrease in this type of allergic type reaction. So this is where Albizia will come in very handy for a lot of people. So again, this is your innate immune system. So reishi mushrooms, echinacea, making sure that you're creating proper barriers with proper hydrochloric acid, proper mucus formation with chamomile, and then probiotics can actually help. And then also making sure you have a healthy functioning liver, and then also making sure you have things like Albizia or nettle when it comes to these allergic type reactions. Now, let's talk then about the adaptive immune system. So the adaptive immune system is something that is learning and growing. It's kind of like a computer program that you have that the more times you enter information, the more it starts to learn and respond a lot quicker. So the adaptive immune system is something that is created and developed as you get older and as you have repeated exposures to certain type of infections. What's interesting, though, is that you never do, in fact, have quote-unquote immunity to specific viruses or bacteria or things like that. It's just that with the adaptive immune system, this is primarily linked around antibody formation, which means that every time you have another exposure to it, the body has these antibodies that allow the white blood cells to respond a lot quicker. So this adaptive immune system is always helping you to learn, and it's always helping to grow, and every time that you have some kind of exposure to it, it's going to have a quicker response, and many times the response that you have to kill off a foreign invader is actually subclinical, meaning you've already killed the infection even before you had any kind of outward symptoms. So the adaptive immune system relies on what are known as these lymphocytes. And things that can directly help these lymphocytes and giving them what it needs in order to produce healthy lymphocytes are going to be things like Romania, which is an herb, chaga, which is a mushroom, and then also you have vitamin D. And vitamin D is so important because it's linked to 1,500 different genetic functions, but it also will help specifically with lymphocyte function, with lymphocyte formation. So just understand that vitamin D, a lot of people think I need to take it and probiotics, but it really is those are just two things that you can do in order to increase your immune system. So here you have divided into T cells. These are called your natural killer cells, your CD4 and your CD8 cells. These T cells are specifically responsible for viral infections, and they're specifically responsible for killing any kind of cancer cell formation. So I want you to think about it. Here you have CD4, CD8 cells, and these killer T cells, what they do is they go around the body and they identify basically anything from foreign to self. So anytime that you have a cell that's infected with some kind of virus or some kind of maybe a toxin that's causing the cell to become weak, then those cells will actually throw up a flag and say, hey, we're not healthy anymore and we're infected, and then the T cells identify that and then kill those cells. And the same thing that happens with any kind of cancer cells. So what's happening is the T cells are really just like, they're always going around and they're looking and keeping some of these infected cells, viral infections, things like cancer cells, they're always keeping these things at bay, and which is why you have to have healthy T cell formation. And then you have your B cells, and your B cells are the ones that are going to be secreting the antibodies. So anytime that you have any kind of infection that's taking place, then what happens is these B cells then secrete the antibodies, which can then recruit the T cells and can also recruit these cells too, in order to help you overcome any kind of infection or anything like that. So again, what you're supposed to take is going to be dependent on the type of infection that you have. Which is why with autoimmunity or within chronic viral infections and things like that, which is why things like Romania and chaga and vitamin D, people do so well doing with that. Now, one of the first things that we always want to work on with people is to establish healthy barriers. And that's why a lot of times we work with their digestive system and their food allergies first, to take pressure off of the immune system, but also to create some healthy barriers so that the first line of defense actually becomes really, really strong. Now, do you need to be able to be on reishi or echinacea and all of this in order to build a healthy immune system? No, you don't necessarily have to. However, when you test Things like food allergies, or doing a stool sample, or doing some kind of thyroid panel, or doing some kind of test in order to measure the immune system like a CD4 or CD8 blood test that will see how many of these cells are actually present. Then when you actually see those tests, you can determine which things are going to help you the most in order to help that immune system become strong. However, if you want to work just on overall immunity, two best things that you can actually do is chiropractic and astragalus, and the reason why is because that influences the stem cells within the bone marrow, that then everything from there develops into your immune system. So I hope you guys found this enjoyable. Hey, make sure you like this. Make sure that you share this with a friend who needs a stronger immune system. And also, by the way, sugar will directly decrease your immune system. And also, people are going to ask, well, what about vitamin C? So vitamin C isn't as important as this because sugar will compete with vitamin C. Now, you can get vitamin C from a lot of different sources, but basically vitamin C is really easy to get. But the last thing is this. Dr. Nate, what happens if I have an infection and I don't have time in order to start building those up? Well, sometimes you need to be able to recover from that infection, and then you can worry about building your immune system later. So sometimes when people have an acute infection right now and they need some help, one of the things that we recommend for people, and this is why I have this way over here, is called colloidal silver. Now, colloidal silver can be antibacterial, it's antiviral, but it also doesn't disrupt the normal microbiome within the gastrointestinal system. So for some people, we have them do silver orally. Sometimes you can even spray it on the skin, or sometimes we have a nasal spray when people are having chronic sinus infections and things like that, in which that will help to destroy the infection and let that immune system start to catch up. So just remember, astragalus, chiropractic, silver spray, your innate and adaptive immune system. Keep that strong, and also find the sources of the inflammation too. So this is why in order to have a healthy immune system, you need all of these different things, but you also need to make sure that you're eating a way that's non-inflammatory, so that you're taking that pressure off of the immune system and you're not having to make it work overtime all the time. So hey, you don't have to suffer during the flu season as long as you work on keeping your immune system as high as possible. Again, I'm Dr. Nathan Thompson with Exemplify Health Center Wellness Way affiliate. Thank you so much for watching again. Like this, please share this with others who need their immune system to go up, and we'll see you soon.